Okay, Michelle, I'm here in my messy sewing room. I'm going to try to show you how I sew a mask. So, let's see. I'm going to turn my camera around. Okay. I told you my room's messy. Over here's where I cut stuff, so that's where we're going to start. I may have to turn this video off and on. Ooh. Sorry. I'll probably make you dizzy. I'm using my tablet. Okay. Maybe you can see that. This is my handy dandy little board that Gail made me on a piece of plywood so I can turn it. So anyway, I'm going to make me one. I picked me out some fabric. I got these little bees with a crown. So remember, I'm a queen bee. And then the back's going to be blue. So you need to pick you out two fabrics. And then fold them over, like make sure you got the wrong sides together like that. Or you could have the right sides together. Either one, don't matter. Just so they're like that. Okay. Now this piece, this is my little template, just like I made you. So I'm going to, my piece is real tight. I don't have much wiggle room, so I'm going to cut it by itself. Now you can do this with the scissors. I'm just using my rotary cutter. But I usually stack all this up and do it at one time. But because this one's so close, I'm going to do it by itself. Okay. And I just go right along the edge of that. And you can just take a pencil if you don't have a rotary cutter and trace it. And then just cut it out with scissors, same difference. That's just what I'm used to. Okay. So, now when you look at these, they're going to be mirror images like that. That's why you want them to be right sides together. Okay. We're going to do the same thing with this one. And this is like that interface that I brought you a piece of. And you'll notice one side of it's gritty feel and the other side's slick. That's where the glue is, I guess. So I'm just going to stack this up and cut these at the same time. If your fabric's really wrinkled, you probably want to iron it before you start. Flatter it is, the better. And I even starch mine a little bit. Makes it easier. I hope you can see this. You might have to zoom in. That's the first time I ever made this kind of video, a sewing video. Ouch, I might cut myself. By the way, this is the room where I had my famous fall. Okay, so now I've got all that cut. And again, they're all mirror images of each other. Okay. Now, it's really better if you have your, see, I had my wrong sides together, but it's really better if you have your right sides together. Because then you'll just be ready to go to the sewing machine and start sewing. On one of them anyway. Now, it don't really matter which one of these you do, but we're going to go over to the ironing board and take this fusible stuff and iron it on here so it sticks. Now, I'll just lay it on there like this. And iron it and it'll stick right to it. Make sure you get that bumpy side down against your fabric. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off a minute. I'm going to go over to the iron. Alright, now we're at our iron. And it's heating up. It's just about there. But I've got this laid out just as good as I can get it. And you're just going to press it. Try not to rub it very much. You rub it off. Just press it on there. I've got steam on my iron right now. You really don't have to have steam for this. It just happened to be where it was set. Okay. Now, honestly, that's all there is to it. That's just like one piece of fabric now. So I'm going to lay those right sides together. And we got this other piece right sides together. And we're going to go to the sewing machine now. Here I've got my pieces. And when I sew this, I sew everything with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I've got my machine marked for that. So anyway, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take both pieces and I'm going to sew just down this curved piece in a 1/4 inch from the edge. And I usually start with my needle down. You know how to sew, but this is how I do it. I put it right up against my needle and put my foot down. And just take off. Now I'll usually do a couple of little back stitches to lock that in place so it don't come apart. Okay. Now, I'm just following my line right here on my machine. You could mark it with a pencil if you wanted to. Now I'm going to take a couple of back stitches again. I've got a little thing that cuts my thread. Okay, so that's that much. I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. Now it's thinner because it don't have that stuff on it, so it wants to sometimes wrinkle up a little bit. But you figure it out as you go. So I take 2 or 3 stitches. See, it don't like to start as good because it's thin. And I'll back up one. I've got this little thing that helps me get tuck off. Well, let's see what's the problem here. So this is a little bit stretchy fabric. My machine wants to chew it up. Now, I'll start on the bottom maybe. And this is another little trick sometimes. If you will have your little piece of fabric to start sewing on first, this is called a leader. And you just sew off of it. Then put your fabric under there. It won't make such a ratty mess when it takes off. I don't know why it's like that. So I'll take a couple little back stitches and then just keep on going. I probably sewed that a little deeper in a 1/4 inch. Wasn't paying much attention. I haven't done one of these in a long time either. Now whenever I'm doing this, if my machine's trying to chew my fabric up, I'll do a leader and then I'll do an ender at the end. Just sew off of it. Clip that. Okay. Now, yeah, I did do that a little bit big, but that'll be okay. The next thing I do is I open this up, and this is one of the hardest parts of these masks. Is what I'm going to do is open this up, and I'm going to top stitch down through there, just right along the edge of that. So let's see. This will just lay to one side like that. I always start down here at the bottom. It's easier than starting up here. Okay. You spread it apart as you go. Alright. I don't back up on that. It really don't matter. So Just have to kind of take it slow, spreading it apart a little. Come back up, spread it apart a little more. And just keep going all the way off the end. And put my ender in there. And I'm just going to pull this one right over here and keep on going. That seemed to be one side. This is some slinky fabric right here. Okay. You probably want to match your thread up to whatever color your fabric is. This just helps hold that middle crease down. And sew right on off of it. Okay. Now I'm just going to cut all of that apart. And now we got a front of the mask and the back of the mask. Alright. Now, let me find me a little pair of scissors. These will do. Okay. So now we top stitched that. See how it makes that kind of stick out? We're going to cut this seam off now. Close to where you stitched. But not enough that it'll ravel out. I'm trying to hold this where maybe you can see. I would say this is an eighth, or less than an eighth of an inch from that edge. Probably a 16th. I don't know if you can see that or not. I don't know how to hold it so you can. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing on this one. You'll figure out that there's one side that's easier to cut from. You'll be careful not to cut through anything you shouldn't. Okay. Now I've got my pieces. And okay. I'm going to take one of them. Okay, here's the one that's got my interfacing on it. I'm going to take this one. Just turn one of them like wrong side out. And lay it down on there. You want them right sides together. Okay. Now I'm going to end up pinning this together. But before I do, what I want to do is come down here at the end and make a mark on each end. I usually do this on whatever's the lightest side and the one that's I'm marking on the back of this fabric. So what I'm going to do, from this edge, I'm going to make a mark 1 inch from that edge. I'm going to measure with this little ruler. Let's see. And just make me a pencil mark down through that. And I'm going to turn it around. Do the same thing on this side. Now there's a reason for all this. It took me a long time to figure it out. Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of pinning. If when you've got these right sides together, you'll notice that one seam lays this way, and on the other side, the seam lays that way. So they kind of butt up against each other right here. That makes it easy to line them up. So line those up. I put me a little pin right here in the top. And then I come down here and do the same thing on the bottom. I have to get here where I can see. Let's see. kind of dark in my room tonight. Okay, now I'm going to put me another pin or two here just to keep these edges straight. I don't really have to go any farther over than that pencil line though. But I want to make sure my edges line up good. Now, boy, I've made a ton of these where it just didn't match up good, but I made it work anyway. Okay. Now on these curved edges, I usually end up putting one in this, one in the middle, one up here, and then one in this valley right here. Same thing over here. It's just one of them things you have to wiggle around, feel it, get it. It'll fall, kind of fall, just fall in place. Get it pinned. Okay. Those actually fit together real good. Now, we're going to sew the bottom. We're going to sew from the, again, a 1/4 inch in from here. But we're going to sew from the pencil line all the way across to the pencil line. We're going to turn it around, do the same thing on the top. Now it's going to be a little harder because of this curve. Let's do this bottom first. Now, we'll have to take this thing out because we are not going to need that. We have to start in, so we have to raise our needle up. Put the fabric in there up to where the mark is, and put your needle down right on that mark, and making sure you're 1/4 inch in, okay? And I'm going to pull that one first pin out. Put your foot down. If you keep that needle down all the time, that'll help you. Okay, so I'm just going to sew over to here. Now when you get here, you have to kind of fold this thing in. It's going to be hard for you to see because of the way it's folded. And you'll have to kind of hold it over this way and go with curve. I'm just going to leave that pin there until I get right up to it. If I can't see my lines here, I just go, oops, sorry, I just go by the edge of my foot because it's about 1/4 inch. I'll take that pin out. And just maneuver it around a little. Get around that corner. Now my fabric's starting to pucker up a little bit. Sometimes it'll help if you'll just keep your needle down. Raise your foot. And just stretch it out a little. So it's stretched right out. And put my foot back down and keep going. Take that pin out. And stop on the pencil line. And take me a couple back stitches. And cut my thread. Okie dokie. Now we're going to turn it over to this side. It's harder. There's a lot more maneuvering around corners, but you can do it. So put your needle down on the mark. Take that first pin out. Put the foot down. And here we go. And I have to go a little bit slower just to get around the curves. So up to a pin and take it out. Keep going with the flow here, just going around the curve. Take another pin out. Now it's like you curve one way and you get up here to the top, you have to start curving back the other way. Take that pin out. Whoops. Almost done there. Take that pin out, stop on the pencil line. back up a couple. Cut my thread. Now, you probably see where this is going by now. We're going to end up turning this thing right side out. But before we do, take my scissors, and things lay flatter in a curve if you'll clip your seams a little bit. And on this bottom, it's pretty much straight except right in here. So you might clip just a little bit right in here, not all the way up 2 stitches. Some people do it like this. They do a notch. They'll put their scissors in that way and then in this way and cut out a little notch. It don't matter. I just do straight lines. So it don't need much there. But now on this end, I usually cut it a little bit closer than I sewed it. I'll cut a little bit of that off. But you want to keep about, I don't know, a little over 1/8 of an inch there. Okay. And now, in these curves, again, you want to do a little bit of clipping, but don't get your thread, your seam. This just helps it lay flat when you turn it. And its top piece is real curvy, so I usually clip all the way down. Okay. All right. So now we're ready to turn it. And I'm just gonna do this. And before we sew, we'll have to go back over to the iron. Do a little work on it that way. From here out, it's a lot of ironing, a lot of sewing, I don't know, just a lot of ironing, it seems like to me. But the ironing is important on this stuff. Okay. So turn it as best you can. You get the idea. That's the start of it. Now, I'm going to turn our camera off again. We're going to move back over there to the iron board, and I'll show you a few tricks over there. Okay, I'm gonna do this initial ironing of this, but I'm gonna have to iron a little bit, then turn the camera off and move around a little bit because you're not gonna be able to see what I'm doing. But mainly the bottom side that's straighter, just roll that up as good as you can so that your seam is right in the middle. Press all that down. So you want to try to keep it so that when you're looking at the B side, the yellow side, you don't see no blue. And when you're looking at the blue, you don't see no yellow. That's what makes it reversible. And right here in this little dip, sometimes it's hard. This one really come together good, and I think it's because that yellow fabric, it's got some stretch to it. They don't always come together this good. Okay. And those is running. Alright. Now this one worked out pretty good, but I'm going to show you a trick if it don't. Sometimes this part right here is just really a bear to iron and get good, get nice and reversible. I'm going to show you a trick in a minute. So this stretchier fabric might really be a way to go. That's pretty good, actually. Alright, but now I'm going to show you something else. We'll turn the camera off just a minute. This is a sleeve board. So it's for, to iron sleeves with. But it works real good for these things that are on a curve when you can't get them lined up, because you can put it up over that thing and stretch on it. It makes it a lot easier to iron that down, make it good and crisp. So I use this thing all the time. I know everybody's got one of those things, but it sure is handy. And if you don't have that, I'll show you something else. Okay, so that made it nice. Another option you got, and I just made these things. If you've got something curvy like that, this is called a ham, and you can put it on there and sew it. Anything that's odd shaped like that. And then this one, me and Emery call this the sausage because it's a long one. But anyway, that's an option too. I just made this with some flannel on one side, some denim on the other one, stuffed it with sawdust. And it works out real good for things, curved things. So anyway, that's a couple of tricks. Now, the next thing we're going to do is go over to the sewing machine and do a little top stitching. And then we'll be ready to put our bands on. It'll be done. Okay, when we were over at the ironing board, I forgot to show you one little thing. So I did it already, but I'm going to show you what I did. And that is on these two ends, you know, we had marked that 1 inch we didn't sew beyond, so that leaves this little opening here. And when I do that, when I'm ironing these edges down, when I get to that little opening, I angle these ends in just a little bit. Instead of having them straight down here like this, I angle them in just a little bit on each one, and then iron that flat. And that comes in handy whenever you're putting your ear loops on. It took me a long time to figure that out too. So I did that already on both ends, just ironed those in a little bit. Okay, now, so now we can't see that 1 inch line that we'd marked because it's on the inside. So we're going to mark it again on here where we can see it. This will come out when you wash it. And if it don't, nobody notice it anyway. I'm going to stitch it across it. Okay. So now, what we're going to do is top stitch all the way around this thing, but we're going to start at one of these. We're going to go down. What we're going to do from here is top stitch all the way around this thing. We're going to go down the pencil line, which will basically close this off, and then all the way around the mask. Sewing really just as close to the edge as you can get. I usually start right here and go down a pencil line first. I don't back stitch here because when I get all the way around I'll go over it a few stitches. So just start sewing down your pencil line. Till you get just like a stitch away from the edge. Raise your foot and spin it around. Put your foot back down. And remember to stay real close to the edge. I mean, don't run off of it, but you can look at one of the masks I've made and see how close that is, I guess. So, again, you're going down this curvy side, so you have to go a little bit slow so you can turn the curves as it goes. Now, I can tell you, first mask is not going to be perfect. Mine still aren't perfect. But you'll get better at it as you go. That hump sometimes makes you get stuck, and I've got this little thing and I just kind of push it along with to keep it going. Alright, now I'm going going to stop right on that pencil line. Raise my foot, spin it around, and go down this pencil line. And again, stop right there near the edge. Raise it and spin it around. I could actually went one more stitch, let's see. Okay, raise it, spin it, put it down. Okay. Just have to kind of smooth it as you go. This bottom's not hard to get to that little hump, and you just have to kind of go with it. Stop on the pencil line, raise your foot, spin it around. Now, go enough to go over just a few stitches, probably about 4 or 5 stitches in, over top of where you started. And then just, you could even back up 1 or 2 if you want to. And get your thread. Okay. So now, your mask is really made. All we have to do now is turn these under and put your ear loops on. So I'm going to find my stuff and I'll turn the camera off. I'll be right back. What we're going to do here is turn our ends under and get ready for the ear loops. So you see we've sewed across that pencil line, so it's just a flap. So we're going to, I usually open it up like this, and see we kind of slanted that in a while ago, and that helps here. It really does, and it's almost something you have to see. I don't think I can tell you. But anyway, what I do is I fold this up to that seam, and then fold it again. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to, let's see, let me get a pen. Okay, I'm just going to pin this yellow piece that I just folded, just kind of back out of my way, while I'm folding the blue piece up to that crease. All right, and then I can fold that yellow back down on it. Okay, so they're just folded on top of each other. I'm going to iron that down real good so that it stays. Once you get those creases ironed in there, you don't have to pin it. It'll stay right there. Okay, so that's ready for us to put a loop on. Now, do that again. Well, it's usually easier if I just flip the yellow, the top one up, and pin it out of the way. Then fold this bottom one in. When you get used to it, you can do them both at the same time. Okay. Then just you can pin it or hold it in place and fold this one down on it. I hope you can see that. And it makes sense. And just make it stay there. Yeah. Okay. Now, those will stay in place real good. And sometimes if we hadn't slanted that in a little bit earlier, some raw edges will stick out, but that's did real good. Now, what we'll do is take this back to the sewing machine and put the ear loops on. I'm just going to lay that over there. But I'm going to show you something else. I wanted to show you the little, for ear loops, I use socks. I actually already have my ear loops ready for this mask. They're right here. So I'm going to lay them over there with the mask. Now, this is the socks that I use. They're the best ones I found. They come from a Dollar General store. They're baby socks. They're called Swiggles crew socks, and they're 12 to 24 months. So they've proved to be my best ones, unless you've got a man that's really big or something. But these are the ones I've had the most luck with. Okay, and so here is one of those little socks, and I was just going to show you how I make the ear loop. So let me grab something. Okay, I just wanted to get me a cutting mat. Okay, so this little sock, I can usually get sometimes 3 things out of it. I cut right where this toe notch is. I just cut that off. Okay, throw that away. And then I just kind of eyeball it. Right here's a little line through the heel, and I usually come right up near it, cut that top piece off. Okay, throw that away. I'm probably just going to do 2 out of this one. Sometimes you can get 2, sometimes you can get 3. Alright, so see, it's probably, I don't know, 1.25 inches wide, something like that. So then I'm just going to cut it in 2, eyeball it, and then just pick it up and kind of do that. Makes it kind of like a little ponytail holder. And those are the best ones right there. Okay, I just wanted you to see that. Now we're going to run back over here to the sewing machine and finish up the ear loops, and you're done. Alright, we've pressed that under, right? So all this really did was make a little pocket to put our ear loop in. You usually have to stretch it out a little bit. And I just put it in there like that. And just sandwich it in there. Okay, it's pretty good. And really all you're going to do is sew from here to here. And you'll back stitch on the edges because you want this to stay good. If you get the piece of the ear loop in your stitch, it don't matter one way or the other. So I've got that sandwiched in there. I'm going to put it under my foot. I usually start, instead of starting down here and sewing down and then backing up, instead of doing that, I will start down in here, back up to the edge, and then keep going. Okay, so I'm going to come down a little ways, put my needle down, put my foot down. I'm going to back up to the edge. I mean, it don't matter if you even go off of the edge a little. Alright. Trying to keep your edges even over here, because remember it's supposed to be reversible. So you don't want a bunch of stuff sticking out. Okay. So now we're just going to sew down this end. It's going to be stubborn, not want to go. There it goes. And when you get to the bottom, back up some. Again, that's just reinforcing your stitches. And then cut it. Raise your foot and your needle up. And then all you need to do, is trim some of these loose threads off. You don't have to tie knots and stuff if you sewed over your stitches good. Little string sticking up everywhere. I almost cut that. Okay. Alright, so that's that side done. Now we're going to do the other side the same way. Stretch it out a little. Sandwich it in there. And just sew down the edge. Backing up to the edge. And forward. Trim your threads. Look like you have whiskers if you don't trim your threads off. Okay. I can't half see tonight. It's dark in here. Okie dokie. So there's my mask. I'll wear this one to work tomorrow, so I can be Queen Bee, or I can be Flowers. Okay. All right, Michelle, I want you to make you a mask, and I'll bring you a couple of those little socks tomorrow, and you can go from there. It's the next morning, and I tried this mask on. It's a little bit big. I'm going to show you how I'm going to adjust it. So I'm going to put it on. One side I've worked on already. So this side I've fixed. See how this side is sticking out? So what I do is I just kind of pinch it, and I put a pleat right there, and I'm going to show you how to do that. If you just kind of put your finger there and hold it, you'll know about how big of a pleat you have to make. And then I'm going to go around to the sewing machine and do it. So what I'm going to do is just pinch that up, make sure they're going the same direction on each side. And basically all I'm going to do is have that pleat and sew a little line across the stitches here and across the stitches on both sides of the ear loop. I'll sew forward over it and then backward all the way over the pleat. Now I'm going to scoot over and do the other side of the ear loop on both. There's 2 runs of stitches there. You can see the stitch line. And backwards. And I will trim the little threads off and it'll be done. And it fits a lot better. Okay, just wanted you to know you can adjust things if you need to. See ya.